Haya, tuingie kazi direct. Mgeni wa leo Kimani Ichungwa. Good morning, sir.
Morning to you.
How are you, mheshimiwa?
I'm good.
Good to see you, man.
Asante.
You know you're such a catch. Zama we have the big fish.
Mimi mtu mdogo bana.
Mdogo is very relative. Sasa kama ni mtu mdogo, sisi sasa ni watu wadogo.
Yeye ni wadosi bana.
The only man who won by landslide
I'm telling you.
in the country.
Jamaa alifungua race ya marathon bana. Jamaa akasema leteni glucose tulambe kwanza.
Baraka za Mungu.
How are you, sir?
Not bad.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Asante.
Watu wengi wanaulizanga Kimani Ichungwa nani huyu jamaa?
Kwanza warembo wanauliza is Kimani Ichungwa single ama double?
Wanataka kunifungia kiosk, unajua madam wa Ichungwa ni mnoma sasa.
Waambie ni Wanyeri.
Anaanza kuja anasema hapa ndio mnafanya patanisho. Afunge kiosk.
Funga hiyo kiosk.
So maybe you do mind giving us a brief introduction of yourself, how far you've come or you got here and what you're doing with your life.
How far I've come from home?
No, not from home, from your life. Maisha. Tulishaka kidogo tukaona kuna jamaa analeta shida Kenya hii. You know. Every other person would want to know what has been your journey. Who is Kimani Ichungwa? Anatoka wapi? Alikuwa anafanya nini kabla kuwa mwanasiasa? What are the aspirations? What do you want to see in this country change?
Mimi nilizaliwa kijiji kidogo naitwa Kambura. Kambura iko tu hapa Kikuyu. In Karai ward of Kikuyu, then Kikuyu division, which is now Kikuyu district. Nimesomea hapo. Maisha yangu yote nimesomea pale Kikuyu Township Primary School. Nikaenda Alliance High School hapo tu. Nikakuja hapa main campus na Strathmore University. Strathmore College then, not a university yet. You remember that time in our days? That tells you mimi ni mzee kidogo. Tulikuwa tunakaa miaka 2 nyumbani. So those 2 years I did a course at Strathmore School of Accounting. Accounting. And I joined the University of Nairobi in 1996 October. By that time I was completing my coursework for CPA.
You need to give us a secret for looking 16.
Kukaa tu na Yesu.
Yesu peke yake.
Yesu peke yake.
Kwani Yesu tunakaa aje wetu ni aina gani? Kama tunakaa vizuri.
Na kutokunywa pombe.
That is very debatable for now. All right.
Hata kunywa kadogo.
Ya kusafisha system.
Ile ya sacrament.
Sanitizer.
Ile sanitize matumbo.
Ana ugonjwa wa kutozeeka. Ugonjwa mbaya huo.
So mimi ni mzee kiasi. So university nikasomea economics and history. And I graduated in the year 2000. Sikupata job, so nikaenda kuhustle hapa Nyamakima. Nika hustle hapo for about 6 months. Then I got a job in March of 2001 with Diversity Liver, which was then a fully owned subsidiary of Unilever PLC.
Nice.
I worked there for about 2 years with a lot of frustrations. I left. I joined Madison Insurance for another 4 years, another 2 years with Standard Media Group. And that was my last employer. I left in 2008. After having attempted to run in the 2007 December elections, failed miserably. Well, not miserably, because I campaigned for about 3 weeks. I came position 3 in a crowded field of about 23 candidates. But I set a goal then in 2007 that I wanted to do things differently. And what challenged me to want to run for a political seat was a desire to see change that I wanted to see in my locality. And I said, I will be the change that I want to see. And I set out on a 3 weeks campaign because I was still employed. I took leave from my job at Standard Media Group. I published a manifesto, a written manifesto. I pride myself among us the very few members of parliament who have a manifesto that was written in 2007. I renewed it in 2013, and I told the people of Kikuyu, judge me against this manifesto in 5 years, with actual deliverables, measurable deliverables. And I told them, I want you after 5 years to judge me against these deliverables. And I think that's what the people of Kikuyu did in 2017. They measured against the deliverables I had set out in that manifesto. I must admit I've not completed the job. I am still on the job. I'm still focused on delivering on those things that I promised the people of Kikuyu. And I assured them I will deliver on each and every promise that I put in that manifesto. In fact, on the preface of that manifesto, I told them, keep this booklet. Judge me against it. 2017, I went back to them and asked them, I said, you judge me against certain deliverables. Muniambie kama nimefanya kazi ama nimeanguka mtihani. By God's grace, they did say tumefanya kiasi na tuweze kuendelea tumalize. And after the party nominations, wale walikuwa wananipinga wote wakati mapenzi ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Sio mapenzi yangu, wakati mapenzi ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Niendelee na kazi. So I was elected as the only member of parliament who was elected on a post in 2017. And I was thankful.
When I grow up.
I was very thankful to God and the people of Kikuyu for that opportunity. It afforded me time and resources to be able to move around the country campaigning for the party that I believed in. And the president that I believed in. And I did that with a lot of zeal. I was stationed largely in Narok, Bomet and Baringo. And once in a while, I detoured to Tharaka Nithi to help friends there. Not officially. In fact, my party leaders would quarrel me if I left my stations to go to other areas. And luckily, we won the elections. And I had hoped that we would build on the foundation that we had set in the first 5 years, from 2013 to 2017.
The way you build up in Kikuyu.
That is what I hoped, that we would do the same in the country. I must say I'm a little disappointed now that we completely lost track. Today I sit back and look for the big four agenda that we sold to the people of Kenya. I can't feel it, I can't touch it, I can't see it.
You can't find it.
Maybe on Churchill Live, perhaps.
All right, so I want to take you very quickly through the events of what has been happening during the day, especially in the last 24 hours. A lot has happened. Number one is the other 2 weeks ago, we militarized cows. Now we have militarized government parastatals in terms of running of the logistics. What does it make you feel? What do you think is the agenda at the end of the day? Because these are government, to be very honest, it goes without saying that it has less than a year in government. Why would you be making such drastic changes in the way governments is run?
It tells you we have a serious problem in this country. The military are best in the barracks and defending our borders, not even maintaining law and order. If you need the military to come and run civilian institutions, then it tells you there is a serious problem in the country. And there is no justification for getting the military involved in what are otherwise civilian duties. Parastatals have people, young men and women in this country who have the skills and expertise to run state corporations. The fact that they have not done well in the past doesn't mean there are angels in the military who will come and revolutionize these parastatals. We just need to identify the right people, have the right policies in place to manage those parastatals, and allow parastatals to run as semi-autonomous organizations, independent from government ministries. Why the State Corporations Act specifically states that state corporations are not departments of ministries is because of corporate governance issues. If the drafters of that statute had seen the wisdom in separating parastatals from day-to-day management of the ministries, if you are not telling us, leave alone a civilian ministry, that we have to take them to a military state, then it tells you there are serious governance issues that need to be addressed,
Be fixed.
and if you are to ask me, it is the wrong thing to do. It's actually the worst thing you could ever do to a state. Leave the military to do their work.
In the military.
In the military.
What's your feeling? What do you think is the intention?
I don't know. because what we are being told, I don't think is true.
But even outside the intent, Honorable
Maybe
Kimani,
business.
Right. So you are not aware of what could be happening in the changes in the way government is being run. A government you are part of.
If it came to Parliament, probably there would be justification sent to Parliament and we'd be able to interrogate. The fact that now we have trashed every other institution, that the institution of Parliament doesn't matter to anybody. Just like we have trashed the institution of the judiciary. And I'm sure you may be getting into that debate of whether to dissolve Parliament or not, in line with the advisory from the CJ.
We'll get there, definitely.
But it's this trashing of institutions that ought to help us govern the country that then becomes a problem. And if some of these things needed to be done, because these are state corporations that are established under acts of Parliament, be it Kenya Airports Authority, with the current debate that's ongoing in Parliament on the nationalization of Kenya Airways, be it the Kenya Transport Something Network that they want to form by amalgamating the work of Kenya Pipeline, KPA, Kenya Railways, and all the other transport sector parastatals. All these institutions were established with acts of Parliament establishing them as state corporations. Even the way they were doing it with complete disregard of the laws that exist. I have seen laws crafted that even seek to exempt state corporations from the Public Procurement and Disposal Act. And fortunately, some of those issues are in Parliament, like that one. And we will be speaking to them and articulating issues why it is wrong to do it that way. When you see KTLN being formed, ignoring the state corporations, the acts and the statutes that established each of the parastatals that you seek to amalgamate, without amending the parent acts that formed KPA, that formed the Kenya Railways, that formed the other one, ICDC, and all the other institutions, then it tells you there's some mischief. And that's the same thing with getting the Kenya Meat Commission that is established under a statute and moving it to the military.
And I've seen someone who's gone
ought to come and justify it to another institution, and that is the role that Parliament or any legislature serves in a democracy like this, to be able to oversight actions or steps taken by the executive. We are seeing a lot of fiats where nobody wants to be questioned, and if you question, you're fighting government. But we must do what we must do for the country, and we must speak out.
All right. Now, there's an issue, so I want to touch on 3 issues, then we go to the main issues. I saw in Nakuru defending your colleague Oscar Sudi. Yesterday, it was his day in court, and he has been gagged. He has been said he cannot address any political gathering, he cannot do any media interviews, and all that. Also, the officers who are seen to have been involved in his escape have been transferred to Mandera, Homa Bay, and I think Bondo. Pale kwa baba. I mean, what did Sudi say? That because I saw the charge sheet, it's saying actually it's not Sudi YouTube. They said they saw on YouTube that Sudi said sisi amukuzaliwa zaidi kuliko sisi, ama mama zetu hawakutunyonyesha zaidi, mama zetu hawakutunyonyesha zaidi kuliko mama zetu. What's your general feeling on what has happened to Sudi?
Unataka hii kiosk kifungwe?
Hakuna shida, tutaenda tu tufanye kwa barabara.
Ama unataka
hapa inakuanga bare knuckles.
Now
You say as it is.
This is Kimani. Don't seek
It's very close
the immediate transfer of the Kimani OCPD and every other officer when they are sent to arrest you and me here. But we're in a situation in this country where we are clawing back on all our democratic gains over the years, where free speech is being criminalized. Probably it's just the choice of words that Sudi used. But the gist of his message is that this country does not belong to anybody. It belongs to all of us. And nobody should criminalize you saying or me saying that this country belongs to all of us. Because it is a fact of life. Maybe there are those with a sense of entitlement who believe that they own Kenya, they should control everybody else. But that is exactly what we are resisting. We are not owned by anybody. We own Kenya collectively as Kenyans. And therefore, I am yet to see what will happen to that case in court, because the court process is another process altogether. You have got to go and show where you have breached the law. Therefore, let us wait for the DPP and the prosecution to prove their case against Oscar Sudi. Because when I look at what Sudi said, it is in fact those who call themselves a system that were trying to introduce ethnicity in the issue. Otherwise, there was nothing ethnic in what Oscar Sudi spoke about. He spoke about individuals, the individual of the president and maybe his family, and the president's individuality or personality and his family is not a tribe. He's not an ethnic group. And he doesn't, the president of the Republic of Kenya does not represent any ethnic group.
He represents the whole nation.
He is a Kenyan president. That is why he spoke.
So you still
President
believe
of the
Sudi is being
Republic of
victimized?
Kenya, not the Republic of Kikuyus.
So you still believe Sudi is being victimized for the wrong reasons? It's political.
There's a lot of victimization in the country. A lot. With everybody. That's why I was asking you whether you know on this kiosk closed.
We might be the next victims of victimization.
Well, of course. You know, if we allow these things to continue, it begins with the politicians, it goes to the media, it will come to you, it goes to the church, and soon nobody will be safe in this country. And that is why we must have the courage and be bold enough to speak truth to power and tell them that indeed this country belongs to all of us.
All right, you are a legislator. There's something that was happening at the Senate the other day. We saw the arrest of Bomet Senator, the arrest of Cleo Malala, and also the arrest of the other guy from Northeastern. And today, actually, DCI has called for the arrest of Cleo Malala. He said the tears he was crying at the Senate were fake. And there's nobody who is following him, and he wants him arrested for lying about people who are pursuing him. Now, the question is, who is supposed to speak? Is it someone else who is supposed to say, all right, because Ichung'Wa, if I come and tell you your children are the ones beating my children, are you the one to speak, or the other person should say, all right, you said which children? These are number 1, 2, 3 people. The DCI said Malala should be arrested. As you sit where you sit, and even after you leave this place, there's a place you're going to go and you're going to speak. You're going to say something. What Malala came out and he said 1, 2, 3 people are pursuing me. This and these number plates. These are the numbers. These are the names. Today the DCI said this guy should be arrested. Where should investigation begin from? Should it be trying to get the originality and the validity of Malala's concerns, or invalidating what Malala talked about? Do you think Malala was acting in the Senate?
I don't know. I know Malala as a senator and a serious legislator. I don't know him as an actor.
Anasema aliandika Shackles of Doom drama.
Unlike the DCI that I have seen doing his work, not as an investigator, but as an active politician. If you ask me if we have a DCI in this country, I'll tell you we don't have. We have a politician masquerading as a DCI. And I think his act in the Senate yesterday vindicates that statement. If you want to ask me whether Senator Malala is accusing officers that are attached to the DCI of a plot to assassinate him, then you ask the same DCI to investigate themselves. They come back to the Senate, tell senators that Malala should actually apologize and should be arrested for giving false information, that the people he has shown them are not known police officers. I mean, that is the height of idiocy. How do you come and tell the nation that they are not police officers? Does it mean if they are true assassins, as Malala claims, and provided they are not police officers, then they can get away with it? when you have faces, why haven't you arrested those people?
And tell us these are
Is
the people.
DCI coming back to the Senate with a report of statements that they have recorded from the particular people? Because if I tell you it's Gerald Bitok, or Dennis Tumbi, or Dr. Ojwang, who are after my life, and I show you their pictures, your work as an investigator is to go out, get those people, even if you don't have to arrest them and charge them, at least get statements from them. That is what constitutes an investigation. I will tell you, I have an experience with the DCI. A few months ago, we embarked after this pandemic. The deputy president visited my constituency and donated some food, about 600 packets of food items to very needy families in the year. And a week after, somebody delivered some suspected poisonous foodstuffs and distributed them on a Sunday evening in Kikuyu. We reported the matter. I used a lot of social media engagements and WhatsApp groups. It was actually in my home village in Kambura to dissuade people from eating the food when somebody reported to me what had happened. And we informed the police in Kikuyu. The same night I got the information. We made a lot of effort to collect all the food that had been distributed. We got the food. We took it to the Kikuyu police station DCI offices. We were able to retrieve CCTV footage from shops.
Wow. Genius.
At the shopping center. We were able to get photographs, still photographs taken by people as people were scrambling to get the food from the cars. And we were able to independently identify the vehicle that was distributing the food. Fortunately, I got some information from somebody who works. It's a vehicle that had been hired from these tour companies. And you know, all these people know each other if you're in the same business. So somebody within their circles got to know the vehicle. And he relayed information to us and said the driver is fearful because he had been hired by people that were suspected to be DCI officers to distribute the food. The day I presented that information and evidence to the DCI chief in Kikuyu, and I told him I want it on record. I recorded a statement. I gave all that information, including the car number plates, and I expected the next thing, go get the car, interrogate the person, get to know. You know what happened? By 2 p.m. the same day, I recorded a statement at about 9 or 10 in the morning. By 2 p.m. the same day, the file had been recalled from Kikuyu to DCI headquarters.
Kiambu
Road. Because now you are getting onto the truth.
Yes.
Imekaribia sana.
To this day, we are here to get an answer.
So that's almost like a state-sanctioned murder.
It was. I can say that without any fear of contradiction.
Ilikuwa kazi ya state.
Yes.
What does it make? Because you see,
deep state to be precise.
deep state wants to finish its own people. All right, I think we move now to the politics of the day. Is the DP being sidelined, chased out of the party, Jubilee Party? And let's be honest, Ichung'Wa. Yesterday, we saw what happened at the party headquarters. The DP was in the coast, and all the signs were there that there was a Jubilee candidate in the name of Mariam. And almost all the logistics was in place to place a candidate in Msambweni. Yesterday, Raphael Tuju comes out and says, we are not going to field the candidate in Msambweni. A few minutes later, we saw the DP heading there. I would expect that maybe the decision was going to be overturned. But the DP ended up accepting the decision of his juniors. Is the DP being kicked out of the party that he contributed in the making?
I like the way you put it.
Yeah.
Accepting the decision of his juniors. Are you sure it is his juniors?
It's you to tell us now who is running the party. Because we saw Tuju, we didn't see anybody else.
I don't think that is a decision that was made by Raphael Tuju. To be honest, and it is sad for me, the saddest thing that we have done in this country, besides my disappointment with the collapse of what was a Big Four agenda, is the collapse of Jubilee. Because inevitably we must be real with ourselves. Jubilee is collapsing at a very quick
rate
and speed. And it is orchestrated collapse of the party. because there are people within the party who never believed in the kind of party that we wanted to build. We wanted to build a party that would transcend ethnicity and ethnic chiefs and kingpins. There are people who believe that we should still be playing the politics of ethnicity and ethnic kingpinship and mobilization along ethnic lines. They feel hurt that the deputy president has been able to marshal support across the country, irrespective of his ethnicity and irrespective of where anybody comes from. People generally support him across the board and across the country. It hurts them more that he's been able to get inroads in areas that we were not able to get inroads into, even as Jubilee, as a party. And therefore, they knew if Jubilee fields a candidate, the candidate that will be fielded is a candidate affiliated to William Ruto in Msambweni. If he wins, you know the implication of that. With their belief that Pwani ni ngome ya mtu fulani. Therefore, they will do all it takes. One, to kill Jubilee. Two, to ensure that we do not have a party that goes beyond our ethnic identities. Which is a sad thing, because when we set out to amalgamate the 13 or 14 political parties into Jubilee, it was with a purpose that would change and transform the manner in which we transact our politics. From being personality-based and ethnic-based into issue and policy-based politics. And we did very well in 2017. Remember 2017 elections? We got to a point in this country where Jubilee and then NASA were competing on the issue of free secondary education as an issue. Jubilee saying we will have free day secondary education. NASA, I remember Kalonzo saying tutanunua mpaka pensili. Weta saying they will buy even uniform. And they even pushed it to say even university education will be free. And if you ask me, that is the basis of what our political competition should be. On ideas to transform and change people's lives in the country, not on the basis of where you come from. But let me just say this to those who want to finish Jubilee. Finish it. Kwendeni naye kwenye mnataka kupeleka.
But what changed at some point? What changed, Mheshimiwa? A few months ago, you guys were saying, this is our party, we are not going anywhere. Then now Ichung'Wa is saying,
because
Maliza.
Why Maliza? It's clear that is what they want to do. So we'll tell them, please wind it up very fast. Tumalizane, nyinyi muende mfanye ile siasa mnataka kufanya. But I want to assure you, Gerald, whether it is another political party that we will form, we will change the manner in which we do our politics. We will recraft another Jubilee. Whether it is this Jubilee, if they get out and they go form their own ethnic parties, they can get out.
Who is the problem in Jubilee? Why should you leave the party? Who is the problem in Jubilee?
I am not saying we should leave. I'm saying they can leave. They go and form their Kikuyu party. Others can form their Luo party, others their Kalenjin party, others their Luya party, the ethnic parties they want. But if you want us to transform Jubilee now into an ethnic-based political party, with me in it, I shall not be in it.
It's not possible.
If you want to balkanize me into the politics of ethnicity, that I will not do. And that's what I'm saying, whether they leave Jubilee,
No, but they cannot leave. They're the ones who are running the shots in Jubilee.
Or we leave Jubilee. The one thing I can promise you and promise Kenyans is that we will fashion a political party and a political movement.
With ideologies of what originally was.
With the ideologies that we believed in. That we can indeed transform the manner in which we transact our politics. It doesn't have to be, where does Gerald come from? What ethnicity is it? It must be about the capacity of Gerald as a leader, the capacity of Dennis as a leader, the capacity of Dr. Ojwangi as a leader, without looking at where you come from and what language you speak. And that's what I'm saying. I can assure you, it may not happen with Jubilee, but it will happen
Somewhere.
we will make sure at the end of the day that this country will be competing on policies, ideologies, and ideas, not on the basis of your ethnicity. I know there are those who have used ethnicity over the years, and they can't see how now Kimani Ichung'Wa, a man who was born of a Kikuyu mother and a Kikuyu father, can be supporting William Ruto, a man who was born of a Kalenjin mother and father from some village called Sugoi, and a guy from a village called Gikambura. How can he be such an ardent supporter of someone from another tribe? And you should be running what they are telling us. We should be defending the tribe. They tell us we should be defending Rorere. And I ask myself, how comes this politics of Rorere becomes important every election cycle? When they are eating, they never remember Rorere. When they are demolishing people's houses in the midst of a pandemic, and on rainy and cold nights in Kariobangi, nobody remembers Rorere. When you are destroying our businesses down in Nyamakema, and I told you I began my business life in Nyamakema immediately after university. When you decided one day that every Mali business running, be it from Kamukunji to Gikomba to River Road to Nyamakema, they are trading in counterfeits, and you burnt our stocks. You never remembered already. When you came and demolished houses in Kariobangi, in Ruai, to build sewer systems,
there was no Rorere.
But when it comes to political mobilization, you now want to tell me, let us talk about Rorere. I want to talk about Rorere. And the Rorere I want to talk about is the Rorere of the Kenyan tribe and the Kenyan hustler, whose businesses have been closed, the Kenyan hustler whose houses have been demolished. That is the only tribe
that you can speak for.
We
say here we are bold, credible, and informed. Boldness is speaking the truth. Who is the problem in Jubilee Party? In your all honesty. Shida ni nani? And don't fear to mention them. Ni nani anataka kukoroga na kumaliza Jubilee? Because someone was saying yesterday, the DP is going for Tuju, and Tuju is not the man who is agonizing him. It's another man. Who could this be? Who is the problem? Because it seems that you guys know who your enemies are in the party.
I don't know if you can pinpoint it to a particular person, but there's
a system or a cabal.
There's a cabal or a small coterie of power brokers who believe in that politics of ethnicity, who believe in balkanizing people around their tribes, who believe that they own this country, who believe that they should direct people on what political direction to take. And that is a problem in Jubilee. Who has failed the party? I will be bold to tell you President Uhuru Kenyatta as a party leader has failed the party. Because as our party leader, he should be the one who is steering us and showing us what direction to take to make sure that the cabal or the small coterie of power brokers do not take charge of the party. And therefore, the buck stops on the desk of the party leader.
So he's the problem.
He's not the problem. The buck stops with him.
The buck stops with him. But you don't know who the problem is in the party.
He should want to find out who the problem is.
He should tell us who the problem is.
And get them out of the party. First, we must not run parties as fiefdoms or personal properties. Remember, political parties in this country today, Gerard, are public institutions funded by taxpayers. We have in our budget this year, I think about 800 million shillings that we appropriated to fund political parties. The top beneficiary of those taxpayers' resources is Jubilee. And therefore, even the governance within the party should be beyond reproach. When the governance structures in the party are dead, when decisions are made in the dark without knowing what party structure made a decision, then we have a problem. And that's why I say the president, the buck stops at the desk of the party leader, who also happens to be the president. and I would really ask of him to take charge of the party. If President Uhuru Kenyatta truly believed in building a national political party, a party that transcends our ethnicity, a party that is the vision carrier of an agenda that we held so dearly, then it behoves of him to take charge and ensure that the power brokers within the party leave the party and get the party back on its course. I told you, one of the things that I'm very sad about and very disappointed about post-2017 is that I find a situation where we built a very good foundation for this economy from 2013 to 2017. And it's a debate I was having with a few of our colleagues yesterday around the public debt of our country. That it is indeed true we have borrowed tremendously over the years. The danger of all this borrowing without commensurate growth in the economy is that we'll get to a situation where we're unable to service our debt. And why it is sad that we have veered off course is that instead of building on our gains in the first term of this administration, in this second term, we have continuously eroded the gains that we had.
We made the first term.
We had the first term. We had a first term administration that focused on delivery. Today, if you ask me the things we are focusing on, I have no idea. There are those who are focusing on handshakes. There are those who focus on BBI. There are those now who are focusing on dissolution of parliament. There are those who are focusing on a referendum, 2 years to an election. There are those who are focused on succession. And therefore,
everyone is on their own business.
We have failed the people of Kenya. Had we continued to invest on and build on what we began with 5 years ago, the huge infrastructural development that we are doing in this country was not just to showcase. It was infrastructural development that the economy would ride on to move on. And that is what we were supposed to build on under the Big Four agenda. I am rather embarrassed and disappointed that with only 2 months of a pandemic from when COVID-19 came in
March.
February, March, by end of April, we had to feed people. We had to give food rations to people. In a country where one of our key pillars under the Big Four was food security. 2 years after an election, was it 2 or almost 3 years? We have to
feed people.
We have to feed people literally, both in rural and in urban areas. A year, not even a year, 6 months into the pandemic, 1.6 million Kenyans, young people like you and me, many younger than us, who were in formal employment, are out of their jobs.
They've lost employment.
Yet, one of the key pillars of the Big Four agenda was to drive employment creation through the manufacturing pillar. Tell me, what is it that since 2017 we have done on manufacturing? What is it that we have done on food security? A year into the universal health care pilot phase, in the 4 counties of Machakos, I think it was Machakos, Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nyeri. Universal health care is on its deathbed.
It's in ICU.
That is the third pillar. I mean, you heard the president tell us that Siaya did not, the entire county had not a single ICU bed. Yet, UHC was one of our key pillars. We have invested billions, hundreds of billions, under the Managed Equipment Services program.
It has turned out to be a scandal.
Which has turned out to be a scandal. Just like COVID gets. Yeah. Therefore, we have reason, and when I feel and I see the palpable anger and frustration in Kenyans, I identify with it. And that's why I have said, and I said it in Parliament, I know they didn't take it kindly, soon after I was fired. When I say that I shall no longer be an apologist for a regime that is not delivering on the promises and the pledges we made to the people of Kenya.
And these guys took you to the kitchen.
They took me to the
Very
kitchen,
fast.
and I'm very happy. I'm very happy there.
You're very happy in the kitchen.
I am very happy. I am happy anyway. You know, I said it then in Parliament, and I keep telling people, it's not about the job you are doing and who you are doing it for. For me, what matters, because I don't do this thing for anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't do it to please. I don't
For sure.
For sure.
It's
I
about
wasn't doing
ideology.
it to please President Uhuru Kenyatta or to please Deputy President William Ruto or to please anybody. I was doing it because I have been given a responsibility by the people of Kenya through the people of Kikuyu to serve the people. Therefore, if I serve them in the capacity of chairman of budget and appropriations in the National Assembly, I do it with passion and with all the energy I have. If you take me to the kitchen, I will serve the people
There are other passions too.
with the same passion. And if you spoke to the chair of the committee or members who sit in the committee, they can tell you that we have indeed injected a lot of passion and zeal into the committee and informed quite a number of things that the committee wasn't aware probably or that they were not keen on. But that I'm keen on, like the promotion of parliamentary democracy, something that is very dear to me. And I have used this new committee that I'm serving in to seek to promote parliamentary democracy. That one day in this country we'll have a truly independent parliament.
All right. As we close on the Jubilee politics, then I think in the next 10 minutes I'll open up the panel. 2 questions for you. The things that you're expressing yourself on, and I when you talk about the Jubilee and the ideologies and the vision that you had with it, I see it's very personal to you. It's almost emotional. It's an emotional discourse. The thing is, one, have you guys tried to express yourself in the PG meetings? Because I believe you've had around 2 or 3 PG meetings, or what is it all about? What's funny? What, the PG meeting was a joke. Why are you laughing?
You know why I'm laughing? You asked me whether I've been able to express myself in a PG on the Big Four agenda.
Not on the Big Four agenda, on the O's that is happening.
On all the issues.
No, the Big Four agenda, you've said it's dead and buried.
Even the Big Four agenda.
It's part of the idea
and I
of
have to say
Jubilee.
this.
It is a product of Jubilee.
The Big Four agenda never left the boardrooms of State House. It was kept in drawers there. It's dying there. It never left.
A natural death.
Ask not even 10, probably 5% of members of parliament to explain to you what those 4 pillars were about. They will not. Because it was never brought to them. When I took over as chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in 2017, October, the first report that we crafted of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, I think, was a supplementary budget we did. We clearly articulated what needed to be done around the Big Four. And one of the things we said is that they need to develop a sessional paper, which they would bring to Parliament, which helps not just to look at the issues around the Big Four agenda, but also to inform members of Parliament in the country on what needs to be done. I remember an engagement I had with somebody, let me not mention the name because they are still serving in government, they might be fired, around the housing agenda. And I told them this housing agenda is a good thing, but the way you have crafted it, it will not work. And I don't see it going through Parliament in its current form. They never listened. It came to Parliament, it never went through Parliament. That was the beginning of failing of the housing agenda under the Big Four.
And the Big Four agenda.
Therefore, when you ask me about PG, the first PG that we held after the 2017 elections was basically a PG in State House that was about welcoming the new members of Parliament, agreeing on the positions, leadership positions in Parliament. And it was not a very pleasant one, I can tell you. The second one we did was immediately after the elections were nullified. We were called again because the first one was not very good and people were not happy. But now you needed the same people to go back and campaign. So you had to call them back and pacify them a little bit. And they were pacified and they went out and campaigned. After that, I think the only other PG we have held is when we were being fired to fire people.
It was about now fire. That's our crisis.
And it is, and that's why I'm talking about governance of the party. And you see, if we want to govern our country properly, it must begin with our political parties. We need to get to a situation where we call parliamentary group meetings to engage on issues.
Not to case.
Afford me the opportunity to articulate, not necessarily issues to do with my constituency, but even issues to do with governance of the party. Allow me an opportunity to come and tell the Secretary General of the party that you cannot be making decisions and come and read them out as if they are decisions made by the party, done by which party organ. This is a party with structures and organs that ought to be making decisions. They are inactive. Nobody calls them. We should be getting into a situation where Jubilee has session all the way to the NDC level to ratify certain decisions. But we have seen them. We just see them in the newspapers. Everybody sees them in the newspapers.
All right. Talking about
it's good the advertising, but you just need to go back to the 2017 elections. Look at how resources in that party were utilized. Then you'll understand the reason why you cannot afford those opportunities within the parliamentary group or any other structure of the party to ask questions. Because the people who are suppliers to the party. And remember, it is, as I said, it is public funds. If this party was being funded by an individual, like in the old days, we would have no questions. But it is being funded by taxpayers and us as members. We contribute money to the party. Every member of parliament, every MCA, every governor, every senator who was elected on this party contributes money to the party. Therefore, it is public funds that are being utilized. And there ought to be some sort of transparency and accountability in how you utilize public funds. Maybe the reason we will not be called for a PG where we can speak, because PGs are sessions to come and read fiats to members. If you dare raise up your hand, you are told next time. But I wish would be given an opportunity to ask some of these questions. So you want to hire helicopters to, if you are not fielding a candidate in Msambweni, to do what the MCA by-elections in Kahawa and Dani. That's what you need a chopper for, or branding materials.
All right.
Probably somebody has realized after COVID there is a new opportunity now to get money. I told you we just appropriated money in this year's budget to the party. So there has to be some semblance of activity.
All right. So what next from Msambweni for you guys? The DP's side?
Let me say I didn't manage to get to talk to the deputy president the whole day yesterday. I was in Kikuyu all day. And I saw what is being reported in the media in the evening when I got home. It is sad that we are where we are. But I don't say this speaking for the deputy president or anybody, but I would encourage the candidate who wanted to run on a Jubilee ticket. If Jubilee is not fielding a candidate, and this is a party that clearly is intent on, there are people who are intent on killing it, the candidate should look for either another party or run as an independent candidate. And personally, I have no problem going to campaign for her on any other party. I will. And let me just say this for the record to Raphael Tuju. I will go to Msambweni if there's another candidate and another party and campaign for them.
You're still going to campaign for your candidate?
If you want to kick me out
even if he's going to run on whatever.
If you want to kick me out of Jubilee for going to campaign, I will. Please do it.
Umesarenda?
Umeweka
free?
Nimewapea free pass. If you think, unajua, hii mambo ya vitisho.
Mumechoka.
Inachosha. Why, you know, when they were threatening they will remove us from committees, I told somebody, my friend, kama ni kiti ya chairman ya committee, unanitishia, tafadhali ichukue asubuhi.
Hata usingoje saa 6.
Usingoje saa 6. Chukua asubuhi. If you think you can threaten me with my parliamentary seat, that you will take my parliamentary seat in Kikuyu
Take it.
to sing your song. Mimi, nie. Chukua.
Washindwe.
When you see Malala shed tears, is the things we go through. I have been called and threatened and told I will be killed if I don't stop following. That was in early 2018. If you don't stop following Ruto, we will kill you. They called me once, they called me twice. I said, tafadhali, kama unaniua for doing what I believe in, usingoje sana, kuja na pia wewe ukuja na vichwa mbili. Sababu ukikujia yangu hata mimi naweza chukua yako.
Interesting. So that's what happens in the political scene. All right, anyway, so it's very clear.
Lakini vitisho zitawapeleka wapi? Na mutatisha watu wangapi na siku ngapi? Zinafika mwisho.
They say you can kill the messenger, but you can never kill the message. All right, so it's very clear that the DP side in Musambweni, they're going to stand with the candidate that they had proposed for Jubilee Party, whichever way they're going to campaign for them. All right, I'll open the panel. Start with you, Dr. Ojuang.
Good morning. Thanks, Mheshimiwa, for such elaborate and in-depth discussion. Fellow viewers, I'm excited to be here and ready to tackle and untackle where necessary.
You have any contributions or questions you want to pull in?
Maybe they will flow naturally, but I'm trying to learn on this because of late, former Prime Minister and everybody is now saying there is nothing like hustler. And then I kind of agree with him that either at some point somebody is a son of a hustler or a grandchild of a hustler or a great-grandchild of a hustler. We can all trace a hustle in our family. Probably, isn't it discriminatory to say only first-generation hustler can claim the hustler tag? And if I'm two generation, then I'm barred from claiming the hustler movement. And probably look at it this way. If you're saying you are a child of a hustler, how about a hustler himself? So I will ask those questions, but I will want us to contextualize and vernacularize it to where do we put people who are third, fourth generation
hustlers.
But karibu mheshimiwa.
Asante, interesting thing. The person I have seen with a problem with the hustler narrative is former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. But I found some contradiction in what he said, because first he was very angry about the hustler narrative. And they told us hustlers are thieves. They even sponsored some conman I see saying he's fighting jiggers somewhere. Was apparently educating people with a dynasty's dictionary of the definition of a hustler as a prostitute. I saw Atuoli saying hustlers ni wajinga, ni watu ambao hawana sijui akili, hawana vision, ni watu hawana akili, ni watu wenye hawana masomo. Unfortunately, the time he said hao mahasla ni watu wenye hawana akili na hawajasoma, the president visited a workshop on I think around Mutindo. A workshop which basically is a hustle, doing desks. And the guy who was running that workshop, if you listen to the news item, he is a graduate of, I think, he said he was a graduate in mathematics and computer science or something. A graduate. But he has his hustle. Welding desks and employing carpenters to do school desks. But Atuoli thinks ni watu hawana akili. The conman, Jiga's conman, says they are prostitutes. Mama Mboka sasa amekuwa ni prostitute. Raila Odinga has a problem when Deputy President works with Dennis Otieno or Stephen Odhiambo, the guys who had an innovative bench that was converting from a bench into a picnic table or a garden table along Gong Road, around the Great Corner. And those guys are hustling, and you saw the bench they were doing, not just the deputy president buying, but even us seeing something innovative and buying. And he supported them to promote their trade and even improve on the quality of what they are doing. You remember I saw him buy them some fabrication machine to be able to fold the chumas,
the metal
better than hii ya kupiga na nyundo na kuchomelea. And if you're talking about support of the manufacturing agenda, manufacturing doesn't have to be the muhindi in industrial area. Dennis Otieno and Stephen Odhiambo on Gong Road are manufacturing benches. Those benches are the kind of things that you would be importing from China, and this is better quality and more durable than the Chinese one. But Raila Odinga had a problem with the deputy president doing that. He had a problem with the deputy president giving people borders. And he complained about it, but eventually I'm happy because when he went to Bomet, he came to terms.
He pronounced himself as a hustler.
Pronounced himself as the son of a hustler. And he said Jaramogi was a hustler, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta was a hustler, Nyayo was a hustler. But then, let me just say this to Raila Odinga. Every generation, and it's good Daktari has spoken about first, second generation, and third or fourth generation hustlers. Every generation of hustlers identifies a leader who inspires hope amongst the hustlers.
at that time.
At that time. That is why the hustler nation of pre-independence Kenya identified Mzee Jomo Kenyatta as one amongst them who was a hustler, a meter reader with Nairobi City Council then. Kajo, Nairobi. That meter reader was identified by fellow hustlers as the leader that was a vision carrier and inspired hope amongst them. And they identified them as their leader. He put together other visionary leaders around him, young people, the likes of James Gishuru, Jaramogi Odinga, Tom Mboya, Mwai Kibaki, Nyayo, and they formed the new Kenyan state. And they dealt with the problems that confronted the nation that time. The current generation of hustlers have identified William Ruto as their vision carrier, as a man who inspires hope to the current generation of hustlers. Confronted by the many problems that confront the country today, they have seen and identified William Ruto as a vision carrier, as a person who inspires new hope for a new Kenya. A new Kenya in transforming our lives, not just at the political front. And that's why I was talking about the politics of ethnic balkanization. The new generation of hustlers, the current generation of hustlers, doesn't want to be sold the politics of ethnic balkanization. The new generation of hustlers want somebody who will inspire hope and tell them that every hustle they are involved in is not prostitution. They are not stupid. It is not about them being seen as thieves. That if you're a boda rider, you have hope tomorrow. That you can own a matatu, you can own an Uber taxi. You have seen boda riders in Gong who are with the deputy president the other day. They have invested in a new matatu. They are doing what government has failed to do. Government spoke about affordable housing. Boda riders through their circle in Gong and in Kitengela have gone into real estate and are developing houses, 2-3 bedroom houses for their membership. Therefore, if Raila Odinga is angered by the current generation of hustlers identifying William Ruto as their vision carrier and a person who inspires hope amongst them, please don't be angry with Kenyans and insult them or belittle them and their small hustles because they have not identified you as their vision carrier. Maybe what you should ask yourself is, when Stephen Odhiambo or Dennis Otieno are supported with a bench fabrication machine, what is it that you can support another hustler with? Maybe a fishing rod or a fishing net somewhere. Yeah. So that we all help
Contribute.
each other and contribute.
Arambe.
Yeah, I listened to him, and Tinga is interesting. I listened to him saying, as a deputy president, you cannot be buying bicycle, na wheelbarrow, na mkokoteni. Then I imagined, we hire wheelbarrows. There are people in the business of leasing wheelbarrows. Naona mjengo ya koroga. If you have a koroga, because you will not buy 20 wheelbarrows ya kubeba kokoto,
You lease.
you hire from somebody. That is somebody who has supported another Juakali artisan who has made the wheelbarrows, because they are not wheelbarrows from China. They are wheelbarrows made hapa Kamukunji, hapa Gikomba. Yeah, ile ya mguu kubwa.
Hapa nyumbani.
And you hire it for between 50 to 80 shillings for a day. The guy who is pushing that wheelbarrow, that's his hustle. And he's making it life and feeding his children, paying his house rent out of the hustle of pushing that wheelbarrow. Yeah, kokoto. The guy who is leasing them, that's his hustle, and he's making money and feeding his family out of it. And the chain goes on and on to the manufacturer of the wheelbarrow, to the manufacturer, to the steel producer who has sold the chumas to make the wheelbarrow. Therefore, when I hear Raila Odinga saying, as deputy president, you should be talking about bigger things. I mean, economic growth and development, and I'll tell you this as an accountant, is not about the big SGR, big housing projects. Economic growth and development is a sum total of small hustles, small economic activities. Today, we have an economy where we have overinvested in the big projects. But the small guy also matters. How he feeds his family matters.
It's also important.
If you tell somebody in Deya, in my constituency, where SGR traverses, that we have built SGR from Mombasa to some bush somewhere in Naivasha, it doesn't make sense to him. But if you show him how he will irrigate his small farm with an earth dam and be able to produce cabbages that he will come and sell in Marikiti or in Kawangware, that feeds his family. That educates his children. Let us respect each and every hustle.
Every muscle
and
matters.
I like what the deputy president says, that every hustle matters. And I want to tell Kenyans, every hustle matters. Let those who are fighting this hustler narrative not be angered that the person pushing it is William Ruto. It's just natural that the hustler generation
I've accepted him as
have accepted him as their vision carrier and as a person who inspires hope in them. And there's a reason why he's the one who is inspiring hope amongst hustlers. It's not just something it's not about William Ruto, by the way.
It's about the moment.
It's about the moment.
All right. Dennis.
Fantastic. I was just eagerly waiting for this moment. Mheshimiwa, thank you for coming and indeed being a wonderful tackler. I love your golden boots. We may just give you a golden boot today. Allow me to take this a bit deeper. And I want to ask questions that may be pertinent to your political journey. There's a general feeling. It's not actually a general feeling. It's a beholden fact that you campaigned for the president not once or twice, but now you feel like you made a grave mistake. Where did the rain as a politician beat you? And what happened towards your journey to Damascus? That's the first question. I have several other. But, I think you've basically held the question. You sound very passionate about the failure of the president to deliver, but you're in the same government, you campaigned for him, people would ask you, you sold us this narrative quite strongly. You spent sleepless nights. You put your energy and your money to it. And now, there's a certain dispatch towards Damascus. I don't see any blindness on you, but there's a certain conversion from Saul to Paul politically. What happened?
Did I make a mistake campaigning for President Uhuru Kenyatta? No, I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I don't regret for a moment having done that, because I believed in it. Mm-hmm. And I believed in President Uhuru Kenyatta as a person who would transform not just the manner we do our politics, but also help transform our economy. Mm-hmm. What I am rather disappointed about, and I have said it without any fear of contradiction, is that we have lost course. We have been derailed.
When you say we, is
we
who
as,
exactly?
We as a government.
As a government.
Because I am part and parcel of this government in the legislature. And that's why I said, as early as late 2017, I remember I did engage the president in a telephone conversation. Mm-hmm. And I pleaded with him to convene a meeting, a parliamentary group meeting.
That's 3 years ago.
Yes.
Is the last time you spoke to the president?
Not the last time.
Okay.
The first time I spoke to the president on the Big Four agenda. Mm-hmm. And I did mention to him, members of parliament, even within our Jubilee party, do not understand this Big Four agenda. Mm-hmm. We need to engage with members of parliament so that we work together. That was before members of parliament refused to approve the housing agenda as it had been brought by government in parliament. And it's not that they were deliberate in failing the president in pushing his agenda. It's because they did not understand it. I was privileged, being the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I was able to engage with people at different levels. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I had a better grasp of what the president intended to do. Mm-hmm. And I believed then, as I believe today, it was the best thing to build onto the gains that we had done in the first term. Mm-hmm. So that when we promise people jobs, it is that manufacturing agenda, it is that housing agenda that would have provided those jobs to Kenyans. Mm-hmm. When we talked about a secure, a healthy populace, it is the UHC agenda. Mm-hmm. When we spoke about food security and ensuring everybody has food on their table, the cost of living comes down, it was a food security agenda. Mm-hmm. And I was feeling it, that we are losing it. Mm. Shortly, March 2018, handshake came in. Mm-hmm. Progressively, we moved from handshake to BBI. We started digressing from our agenda to the BBI handshake agenda. I never went out to campaign across Kenya to sell changes to the constitution. Mm-hmm. In fact, I remember, and you have seen video clips going around.
Yes.
The president speaking about people who are eager to change the constitution every time they lose an election. Mm-hmm. And that is the president I campaigned for. That is a president who had a vision about this country that would transform our politics and transform our economy. I am disappointed that I do not see the president who I voted for pushing as hard and not allowing people to derail the vision he had for this country. When I see people push BBI as a Jubilee agenda and changes to the constitution and referendums at this time, at a time people are hungry, at a time people have millions have lost jobs. I spoke about 1.6 million people who were in formal employment not long ago, only 5 months ago.
Correct.
They were in offices like you are in an office here today. Today they're at home without jobs.
Exactly.
The millions others are people who had businesses that were running. People who are employed by those who have lost formal jobs in their farms and shambas in the villages, who have also lost jobs. My own layman's estimation is probably 5 to 6 million Kenyans over the last 6 months have lost their means of income, or their means of income have been affected by this pandemic in one way or the other, including myself. Therefore, as a leader today, if you ask me what our national priorities should be, and that is why when we opened this session of parliament, I did ask the speaker to, in his own wisdom, to cause the president to come deliver his State of the Nation address, so that we may hear from our president his reprioritization of our country's priorities.
Yes.
Because I see people pushing agendas that I want to believe are not the president's agendas. Because if you ask me today, the president's main focus should be on how we revitalize, how we make our economy to recover from this pandemic. This economy was not doing well before COVID.
Yes.
COVID has made it worse. You have seen last week KRA revising their revenue estimates from 1.6 trillion to 1.5 billion. That's 100 billion shillings less.
True.
Therefore, the same week, I saw a newspaper, I think it was Business Daily or one of the newspapers, reporting that the shilling is at its weakest. I think the shilling now is exchanging at between 108 if you are selling to buying at about 119 or something like that. That devaluation or that fall of the shilling against the dollar has certain implications on you and me.
As a respectable man, I like to dress to be addressed. I have a high preference for outfits that bring out my confidence. I like to feel stylish, classy, outstanding, and exceptional. That way, I get my business running smoothly.
It's Baka. Where are we before the deep state?
Wangechelewa hata kidogo.
Nilikuambia uchunge kioski utafungwa. Ukasahau the own Kenya Power.
Wamenyonga haraka upesi.
Haraka upesi. Kwa nilikuwa nasema nini ili wanyonge?
You are talking about the fact that you fail to see the president that in terms of the promises.
I was actually on the economy and
on
saying
the economy, yes.
The implication that
wanarusha balloon lakini tunaendelea tu.
That fall in the dollar against the shilling.
Yes.
If you look at statistics from the World Bank and IMF today, they're estimating that GDP contraction globally will be between 4.9 to negative 4.9 to negative 5.2%. What that says is that you are looking at a looming global recession.
Economic crisis, yes.
With a global recession, most of our dollar inflows come from our diaspora remittances, our brothers and sisters in diaspora who send us the dollar, and tourism and our exports, dollar earnings. With a global recession, it means our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, they equally lost their means of livelihood because of this pandemic, because it's a global pandemic. Look at a situation like in the UK now, they are almost staring at another lockdown because of rising numbers. That affects people's incomes. Therefore, the diaspora remittances will reduce, further straining the shilling against the dollar.
Correct.
Because it is those cash reserves, forex reserves that come in from diaspora remittances. Your tea, flowers, all our exports will be equally affected.
Yes.
Tourism will be affected,
Exactly.
because people in Western Europe will probably not have a lot of money to come and spend as tourists here. And therefore, the shilling will continue to get strained.
And they're refocused by donors, actually.
Yes. Number two, you have a situation where we are servicing debt to the tune of about almost 1 trillion shillings. Of the 1.5 trillion revenues, about 1 trillion shillings will go into debt repayment. It was actually about 901 billion. But for about half of that is dollar denominated or foreign exchange denominated loans. So for every shilling, every dollar you are paying, if the shilling has lost 8 shillings, you are paying 8 shillings extra. So you'll end up with a bigger burden in terms of debt repayment. That strains your resources for development. That strains your resources even to cater for basic things like salaries and wages for your civil service.
But Honorable Ichung'Wa, I have had you indict the handshake, and I've had you indict COVID-19 on demolitions, the state of the economy, XYZ and XYZ. I still haven't had you lay a square blame on what, in terms of where is the incompetence from. I mean, there's a general feeling that the government has failed. Are you blaming all these on Raila Odinga and COVID-19?
Do we say government has failed or people are failing government? It is not government that is failing. It is people who are failing government.
Explain.
And that is why I was saying, for me, if I were the president today, my principal focus would be on the economy, and only the economy. However, whatever 1,000 kilometers of roads you build, and there's no shilling in the pocket for Kenyans,
It's useless.
they will still say you did nothing. However many SGRs you build, airports and whatever you do, and that doesn't trickle down to the people's pocket, the economy, they will not feel it. Why is Kivutha Kibwana saying that he wants to run for president and says, I will do better than Mwai Kibaki? Is Kivutha Kibwana telling us
That
after
there was
Mwai
no Uhuru
Kibaki-
Kenyatta?
You said that, I didn't say. I was asking, what is Kivutha saying? Why are we talking about Mwai Kibaki? It's because Mwai Kibaki took over an economy that had been run down by Nyayo.
By Nyayo.
At almost negative economic growth in terms of GDP growth. He brought it up very well up to 2005 referendum. There were issues with the referendum and the subsequent elections in 2007. After the post-election violence of 2007-2008, this economy moved, I think, to about 1% of GDP growth per annum. What did Mwai Kibaki do? Because it was another pandemic with post-election violence. Mwai Kibaki shut his eyes and ears to your politics. And we got angry with Mwai Kibaki.
Correct.
When people are complaining about carpets and toilets, he doesn't hear, he doesn't see. He is focused on delivery
Recovering the economy.
and recovery of the economy. That is what President Uhuru Kenyatta ought to do today. President Uhuru Kenyatta should not be bothered by what Kimani Ichungwa says, what Oscar Sudi says, what Raila Odinga says, what anybody says. President Uhuru Kenyatta should be focused and bothered by one thing. How do I revive this economy? How do I get food on people's tables? How do I get jobs for the millions who have lost jobs and create even new jobs for those who were not even in employment? That is what Kenyans will remember Uhuru Kenyatta for.
Regaining the economy.
Recovery of the economy. Shilling in the pocket. that is why I was telling my good friends, senators, the other day, this business you are in fighting about revenue share. And one shilling, 1 vote, 1 kilometer, 1 vote, 1 shilling is unnecessary. What matters to the ordinary Kenyan is the 1 shilling in my pocket, but not the 1 shilling going to their governor to steal. Because even the 1 shilling going to their governor to steal is about 17% of our revenues. What happens to the almost 80% that is left
That's
at
remain
national
the
level?
national government.
Are we having that discussion on the spatial distribution of that, the development budget at the national government level? Because that is where the rain started beating us. When I focus on Kiambu County and I push an agenda that we are 2.5 million people in Kiambu, we ought to get more money. Of course, we ought to get more money because we need services for the 2.5 million people.
Correct.
But I forget that there is somebody who has immigrated from Turkana, from Kitui, to come and live in Kiambu County because there are services that are available that are not available in Turkana. What has that done to the economy in Kiambu? Coffee estates that were generating wealth for the people of Kiambu are now housing estates.
Correct. They are no
Those
longer there.
coffee estates were owned by indigenous Kiambu people. The housing estates in Kiambu today are not owned by indigenous Kiambu people.
Correct.
It is Gerald Bitokia who comes, I cater for him a eighth of an acre, he builds a house.
Kitu.
It's wealth I have transferred from myself as a Kiambu indigenous person to Gerald
Gerald,
Bitok,
yes.
From wherever he comes from. I don't know where he comes from. Or to Dr. Ojwang here from
Karachuonyo.
From Karachuonyo. Rangwe. So when this man from Rangwe comes to live in Kiambu, I count him as a part of the population in Kiambu.
Yes.
If Dr. Ojwang was from Turkana, for instance, what if I made sure that we have exploited the water resource in Turkana to be able to allow people there to farm and irrigate?
The aquifer.
Yes.
I am sure there are many people from Kiambu who would opt
Even have a real estate boom there.
instead of having to live on an acre
An eighth, yes.
where you are living and farming on,
Correct.
to go and farm on 100 acres with irrigation
Expansive,
programs in Turkana. If I had also built a super highway going there,
An economic corridor.
I can drive from Turkana to Nairobi maybe in about 5 hours, or I can fly from Wilson or JKIS to Lodwar or Kichogio in about an hour.
And you bring in Sukuma from Lord.
Bring in
to
Sukuma
Kiambu.
to Kiambu,
Yes.
to Nairobi. Bring in the delicious salty fish
Yes.
from Lake Turkana to Nairobi within an hour,
Yes.
by air or 4 hours.
Correct.
You'll be growing the economy in Turkana
Even to Mombasa.
and expanding areas where people areas that become habitable for people to live. You will have oil exploited in Turkana, and you no longer say that Turkana is about camels and desert. Look at and Daktari here will tell you, when he was in the United States of America, the state of Nevada. And I know there are people who say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I've not been to Vegas, Daktari. But you who has been to Vegas, you can tell us what happens there. But the state of Nevada is basically a desert. It is the Turkana or the Marsabit of Kenya. But the state of Nevada, and specifically the city of Las Vegas, is contributing to America's GDP in a big way. The state of California is another desert.
Arizona.
The GDP of California is probably 12 times our GDP here. That's a desert.
The fifth in the world.
And in terms of geographical area, California, the state of California is about the same size with Kenya.
Okay.
But GDP is 12 times because they have exploited the oil resource in California. What makes us think that Turkana cannot be the California of Kenya? What makes you think that Marsabit cannot be the Nevada, state of Nevada of Kenya? When Mwai Kibaki built the Isiolo Marsabit road, I saw in the newspapers the other day the people of Marsabit and Isiolo saying, for the first time we became a part of Kenya.
Exactly. There was a
Because of
network.
just one road. imagine what we would do if we made sure that resources went out to develop those areas. I mean, I will say it from experience. I was elected in a constituency with 5 wards. The biggest ward in my constituency is called Nachu in Deya. Semi-arid, they called it Deya Ngobe because only cows largely were grazed there.
Yes.
The population when I was elected there of registered voters was about 9,700. Kikuyu ward or Kikuyu town had about 21 or 24,000 registered voters. And all the other wards had more voters than Nachu. Deliberately, my CDF allocations, I have given the ward that was more marginalized, more money. What that has done to the constituency is that people are now moving from the urban areas of the constituency to go and live in there.
Yes.
We built our TTI there. We have done roads where there was no electricity. We've taken electricity. I have even done boreholes through CSR, borrowing money from CSR when I couldn't do it with the
CDF.
with CDF, and the county government wasn't willing to help. I went out to companies like Safaricom, East African Breweries. They have drilled boreholes for me and has made the place habitable. An acre of land that was going for about 200,000 shillings today, then is now going for 2 million shillings.
Exactly, 2 to 3 million even.
And people are moving there. The economy there is improving than it were 5-7 years ago.
Yes.
That is at the micro constituency level. I see the same happening at the macro level in the country.
Nationally.
If we develop
Ward by ward.
Yes, if we exploit the solar energy resource in Garissa, in Wajir, in Mandera, and make the place secure and habitable, there are people like you and me who will opt to go and live in Mandera.
All right.
Mandera is not just about.
There's one question I wanted to ask Mheshimiwa
very quickly
as we run. It's interesting that you speak about what CDF has done today. But I think there's a bill that came for the second reading that involved some more development that the National Assembly rejected. When so much CDF can do so much, I think you perhaps need to speak about it because it's a contraption of some sort.
Bill.
Yes.
Kangata was playing politics.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why he was playing politics. Kangata is a lawyer. He knows there is no money bill. By the way, it was never rejected in the National Assembly because it could not even be debated in the National Assembly. You cannot do a money bill and initiate it from the Senate. If he really intended to do that, what he should have done is get his member of Parliament, Dindi Nyoro, to sponsor it from the National Assembly. Because money bills cannot emanate from the Senate. The only sort of money bill that can emanate from the Senate is the one they were doing the other day, Kara.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. I needed to ask you this very important question. You mentioned earlier on about the Kikuyu nation. I wanted to ask you, there's a general indictment, and I've dealt with it in this platform before, of the Kikuyu nation. Do you think, and I'm going to restructure it differently, do you think that the Kikuyu nation has been subject to historical injustice by having been a political capital? I'm saying that because there's a general feeling that Kikuyus have produced 3 presidents because they've emanated from that descent. But do you feel that the Kikuyu nation has been used as a fresh cow, perhaps a cash cow for political capital? Because previously, of course, they were fed the narrative of Mchawi. Then the Mchawi came home as a second wife, interestingly. Now they are being weaponized against the hustler nation, if you would like me to put it like that. Should it be a blanket indictment? Is it a barren issue from Central Province? What exactly is the micro issue? And how should Kenyans perceive this generally, sir?
Your question is whether I think the Kikuyu nation has been used literally.
Yes.
I don't think so. I believe so.
You believe so?
I believe.
I didn't see that coming.
I don't just think we have been used. I believe verily that we have been used. We have been used to perpetuate people's selfish agendas and interests as a community.
As a community.
And I am glad and I am very happy with the hustler Kikuyu nation today that they refuse to be used again to perpetuate selfish and partisan political interests. That is why I said earlier, the politics of ethnic balkanization is what has been used to balkanize us as Rorere and our man
Jeshi.
And there's a story that is told, Dennis,
Yes, sir.
of the axe with a wooden handle and the forest. That trees would always vote for the axe because they say, this one is one of us. You see, the handle is wooden. It's one of us.
Yes. And the forest kept shrinking.
And the forest kept shrinking. That is what has happened to the Kikuyu nation. We have been told, let us vote for already one of us. But the forest kept shrinking. Our economy, our businesses, our livelihoods,
The land.
even our land keeps shrinking. When it is one of us. Therefore, let one of us be one of us not from our ethnic community, but one of us who identifies with our needs and our aspirations as a people. And not as a people, as a Kikuyu people, as a Kenyan people. Because there is nothing your ethnicity and my ethnicity.
I saw a show from Nyanza
add
saying
to us.
maskini jeuri. You know, I don't know whether you saw the video.
I've seen
Yeah.
she said sijui ya mama hu maskini jeuri. Kuwa maskini jeuri. Jua wewe si Mjaluo, wewe si Mkikuyu, wewe si Mkalenjin, wewe si Mpokomo, wewe si Mpokot, wewe si Mijikenda.
Umedanganywa.
Wewe ni Mkenya halisi. Na mtu asitumie kabila lako to mobilize you against another person because of their ethnicity. Let us mobilize each other on the basis of what you believe in, what I believe in, my vision to change your life and the people's lives, and your vision to change our people's lives. And we compete on the basis of
Ideologies.
And if we do that, we will change this country. And I want to say, because you asked me if I regret having campaigned and voted for Uhuru Kenyatta, and I told you I do not.
Yes.
Why don't I do that? Because we have 2 years to go. President Uhuru Kenyatta still has an opportunity
To turn around.
Mwai Kibaki, after the 2007-2008 post-election violence, took about a year and a half to turn around the economy. By the time we were doing the 2010 referendum, the economy was on an upward trajectory. He left it at high. We came in as a younger generation of leaders, still educated, with more energy. We ought to have taken it a notch higher.
Further.
We did well. We set the base to build on. We are eroding that base. President Uhuru Kenyatta has an opportunity in this 1 or 2 years to stop the erosion of the gains that he did in his first term, refocus on rebuilding the economy and delivering on the promises and the pledges he made to the Kenyan people. I never saw BBI, I never saw handshake as a commitment from President Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is why I have said, for me, all I would do if I was President Uhuru Kenyatta is just to re-engineer my priorities, focus on what I want to be remembered on. Nobody will remember us for handshakes. Nobody will remember us. Because at the end of the day, by the way, why people fight is because I win, you don't accept I have won. Or over resources. If we equitably develop our country, we will have no reason to fight. And we'll get our country, and that's why I say it may not happen with Jubilee if the small cabal or the small coterie of power brokers get their way. But we will refashion a political movement in this country. And I believe under the leadership of William Ruto, because I have worked with him for 7 years now, I know we can fashion a new Kenya. That new Kenya that I believe in, I see it coming under William Ruto and the leadership that we'll have of another generation of hustlers. You have a vision carrier, we will support him.
All right. I throw it back to you, Ojwang, so as we can pick it up as we move in the doctor.
Ojwang is which generation of hustlers?
Maybe it's the first generation. Maybe it's the unajua kuna siku hizi mpaka kuroila hustlers wenye ni mix and match.
I wish I could say my father was me. I'm the hustler myself. I have to build it from scratch. But there's a time that somebody accused me of the epitome of hypocrisy and called my submission fantastic phonies and fabulous fakes. Fantastic phonies and fabulous fakes. That was Bensouda. We were presenting something on ICC, and she said the irony is that Africans embrace international law when it works for them, trashes it when it does not work for them. I hope what you have said today is not phony or fake, that we embrace the hustler movement when it is working for us, and dismiss it when it is not working for us. But, I'm glad you talked of Arizona, and it's a real desert. The first time I went there, in the urinal, there is no flushing. They have bacteria that feed on urea, and they flush all the urinal once a day. I don't know whether it's a ceremony that the VC come and do the official flushing. But imagine the amount of water they are saving. But they also say this in Nevada. Nobody calls home from Vegas unless they are in trouble.
You have no dollars in your pocket.
Very right. When you have run out, you can't gamble anymore. That is when, mko hapo nyumbani mnaendeleaje?
Mnaweza nitumia
So I'm wondering whether you are also calling home from Vegas.
I said I've not been to Vegas.
No, the Vegas of Jubilee. That you are now calling home or calling us hustlers when when Vegas is in trouble. When you are still in Vegas. Vegas, it's a beautiful place. You still have money to bet. You still have money to do everything. Then you realize, hey, where am I going to sleep? Hii pesa imeisha. Hey, hapo nyumbani mnaendeleaje leo? Watu wako sawa? Mnaweza kunitumia kitu to sort nikirudi from Vegas. So that is why we sometime when great politicians and you have always exceeded my expectation. So I don't know whether to trust your heart, because I know for sure you have a gift of speaking. You do. Even when you are debating the wrong thing. Even when you are debating the wrong thing. So I hope you are not calling home from Vegas because you have run out of money. But I take you for your word. The challenge I have with people who have studied economy is that the concept of development is only looking at the economic development, the shilling. From the legal perspective, I'm looking at development as a proverbial traditional stool. Social development, human development, economic development. Social development will be, change of culture, improving how we relate and all that. Human development will be fighting corruption, equality, justice, fairness, rule of law. That is also development. And then the economic development. So you are right that, you are faulting those who simply narrow this issue to siringi. Shilling is very small concept of development. And I like what you have said, which shows that you might have caught the real hustler back. It's manifesting. Maybe you are asymptomatic, but I see the hustler back.
I am a son of a hustler, yes. And I am a hustler.
Yes. What I like, even when we were talking of Africa rising, is it rising for Mama Mboga? And we have this upuzilization of economy where we associate the economic development with big projects. Amefungua hii barabara, hii ni dual whatever. Is Mama Mboga having more money in her pocket? To me, that is the real measure of economic development. Is the border person having more money? Not the big projects, not the glamour and whatever. And so I look at a case. For example, I come around the border where my mother used to do the fishmongering business from Tanzania to Kenya. Sirati, Ukurewe, and then so when I talk, it was so natural, that's what she was doing. But the government kept calling her business Magendo. Even today, if you go to the border, we are talking of East Africa community, but it is for the big business, it is for the truck and trailers, the small business are still called Magendo. And it is generally women. It is generally people who have done it so many years. My mom had trust so much with the Tanzanian shop that she's given things on credit to come sell in Kenya. And as East Africa community collapsed and Kenya is signing these big treaties, her business still remain Magendo. Anafanya biashara ya Magendo. So there is a disconnect in what we consider to be development. Because development to me should be having all those social, economic, but ultimately it should be tested in these three fronts. What are we doing about unemployment? What are we doing about inequality and the gap between the have and have-nots? And what are we doing about poverty? So the economy of trickle down, and then I'm very glad because you are an economist, but you are not so much stuck with statistics and numbers. You know that the human experience is more important than statistics. You can make statistics say anything. You know how much we are usually told, Kenya, tumepatikana, our GDP is doing this much. Our GDP is doing good. But the experience of Mama Mboga and of Kenyans and the people selling mitumba is far from that. Somebody equated statistics to, statistically you can say a man walking with a dog, on average, each one has 3 legs. Because the guy contribute 2 legs, the dog has 4 legs, those are 6, divide by 2, each one has 3. Far from reality. Because there is no human being who will have 3 legs, there is no dog which can have 3 legs. So you can make statistic say whatever you want it to say. I don't know, sir. Are you calling from Vegas because you're in trouble?
Am I calling from Vegas because I'm in trouble?
Calling home.
If you have listened to me, as you said, even as I debated the wrong things.
And I've listened to you, sir.
I don't know what wrong things, but the one thing you will learn about me, if you haven't learned so far, is that I say it as it is. And I say it as it is on what I believe in. If I don't believe in anything, I will tell you to your face, this, Pole, I don't believe in it. Wow. If you convince me, even that which I didn't see in your perspective, you convince me, I'll become your advocate of your idea. You are number one advocate, and I'll push your agenda. Therefore, when I speak about this hustler narrative, when I speak about the realism of our economics and our country's economy, it's because it's something I believe in. When I speak about our being derailed from the agenda that we sold to the Kenyan people in 2017 elections, it is because I believed in that agenda. Wow. I believed that we would transform not just our politics, but also our country's economy. Therefore, I feel hurt that we are being derailed. We are not delivering on what we promised the people of Kenya. Instead of creating jobs, we are killing jobs. Instead of creating housing, we are demolishing houses. Instead of creating universal health coverage for every Kenyan family, a mother in Pumwani Hospital is delivering outside the gate of Pumwani Hospital. I feel hurt that in the midst of a pandemic, you are not only destroying people's houses and their livelihoods, that you're also stealing the money that has been appropriated to help them with the pandemic. I have, and I have said this it's in the public domain, I have been in the business of PPEs for the last almost 20 years. When you tell me that PPE kit that is worth about less than 3,000 shillings is being bought by KEMSA at 10,800 shillings, that when the prices went down, they moved it to 9,900 shillings. I mean, that, I don't know, it's the height of what, but that's how you destroy a country. I will not sit back today and watch us destroy the country and keep quiet. It is said, evil thrives when good men remain silent.
Absolutely.
Especially those who ought to know better. You remain silent. You allow evil to thrive. If I am a good man, if I am the Christian that I profess to be, I will speak truth to power, irrespective of the consequences.
Mheshimiwa, I have seen that you don't like this ping pong game. In my assessment, the most relevant prayer in Mount Kenya, in the Lord's Prayer, the most relevant line is, "Forgive us our debts, as we forgive all
those who owe us."
You're saying this time that might not be the prayer this time, because I'm saying that because all the debts, whenever it comes to the ballot, that prayer is recited. After all, it's the Lord's Prayer. Give us this kingdom, but mainly forgive us our debts as we forgive all those who have wronged us or who owe our debt. I'm seeing something that looks suspicious, and I'm seeing a groundswell for real. But time will tell. But I'm seeing things changing. I wish they could clone you, because you have been very consistent. I said there that politicians only have two truth: the greeting, salutation, and the bye-bye. In between. You can go either way.
You're talking about the central politician.
No, all politicians.
All politicians,
to be honest, yeah. But it is admirable to always pursue the truth and to stand up and champion for the cause that you believe in. So I think that is inspiring, because you don't have to clang on somebody or a godfather to win in your constituency. And I think that makes a difference.
Because I have God the Father, I don't need a godfather.
Oh, God the Father.
Godfather to his heart.
In heaven.
Yes.
Thanks.
I think one of the things I wanted to ask Honorable Ichung'Wa is that structurally, the deputy president is part of this regime. We've hosted people, for example, let me quote John Githongo. He said that this is arguably the most corrupt regime ever witnessed. Is the deputy president part of that failed regime?
I may not necessarily agree with John Githongo, because if you ask me, the most corrupt regime was the Nyayo regime. Maybe,
I mean, if you look at
one is competing,
our debt portfolio
to compete with the Nyayo one.
If you look at the debt portfolio, we are way further than Nyayo. If you look at corruption, we have Goldenberg every week. So technically, I think contextually, you know, argue
Dennis,
that,
our debt issue. Let's not just look at it as a debt problem. Look at it as, we have borrowed money. What have you done with the money? What was the intention of borrowing? And where was it to take us? And I've told you why I get disappointed is because we borrowed money to build this infrastructure, to get money from the World Bank to connect millions of Kenyans to electricity, to be able to generate more revenue for the country in terms of more customers to KPLC. How have we managed KPLC then to make sure that that wealth is coming back to be able to repay the debt? You borrow money to build roads, infrastructure, and airports to be able to open up new areas where people would go and settle and create new economic activities in those areas. How have we built onto that? That is what I'm saying. We have failed. We have failed because we invested money in electricity generation to be able to drive a manufacturing agenda. We build infrastructure to be able to open up new areas where you go and open new areas for affordable housing, that we all don't have to be cramped up in Kiambu County because of its proximity to Nairobi. You don't have to go live in Ruaka or Kino or Kikuyu. You can live in what is this place called Kangundo in Ukambani. You can live in Isinya and live a better quality life than the life you would live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Ruaka.
In Ruaka, yes.
You live on half an acre in Isinya.
On compound, yes.
And have a better life. But we have now been derailed from building onto those gains that we use borrowed money to, and focused on issues that will not generate wealth for this country. That is where we are failing. If we built on what we intended to do, if we remain focused on the economy, we will be able to generate enough wealth to not only repay our debt, but to also be able to develop our country further from our own national resources. Now, our revenue sources are shrinking instead of growing. The 1.6 million Kenyans who are in formal employment were taxpayers who are paying taxes. They are without income, so that is money lost to the state. That is money lost to repay part of that debt.
So is the deputy president part of that failure, or he has been sidelined from inheriting that failure?
Let me say this, and it's good to have this on record.
Yes.
If you ask me whether the deputy president has been part of this administration, I'll tell you in the first term of this administration, up to 2017, he was part of this administration. After 2017, they have called him a spectator. And I saw him tweet the other day, said he's happy to spectate. At least you will not blame him on COVID-Gate, the COVID haste at KEMSA, and all the other things that have happened in between. Therefore, and I think that's where we began to lose it. We began to lose it because the coterie of power brokers around the leadership of this country made our president believe, or they wanted the country to believe, that we can have government run in a certain way to the exclusion of others. And that is where the rain started beating us. We remember the executive order number 1 that took certain functions that the deputy president was doing with a lot of passion from him to some CS at OP. Ask yourself, what has the Matiang'i committee achieved since its formation? How many people have new homes have they connected to electricity, or made sure that are connected to electricity?
So is the president under hostage?
I don't know whether he's under hostage. He's the one who will tell us. But mambo,
or is it intentional?
Mambo kwa ground
Ni different.
Na si mazuri. Na si mazuri. Watu wanaumia. And you know, ask us, because we are in the villages every day. I purpose to be an accessible member of parliament and available to my people. If I was not on this show, you'd see the number of calls I'll get in a day and the number of SMSs I'll get. And the kind of issues people raise with you. When people who are fending for their families and they had sources of income start asking their members of parliament, their MCAs, for money to pay rent, for money to buy food,
for butter and bread,
then you know things are different. And that is why I pray. And I'm on my knees every day praying for President Uhuru Kenyatta. That
it's biblical.
He may see the realism of where the country is and focus on the right things. When I ask that the president addresses the nation on the state of the nation, and I ask to hear, I go back home and I pray for him that the president may see that our new priorities today are not changes to the constitution to create jobs.
So the president is out of touch with his people.
I am praying that he's not out of touch.
You're praying and hoping that he's not out of touch.
Yes.
All right. Hoping
And I am
again.
praying that God gives him the wisdom to focus on the important and urgent matters of our country.
Damascus moment.
Which to me is not BBI creating 5 positions for us politicians. Is creation of maybe 5 million jobs, not 5 jobs. 5 million jobs for 5 million hustlers who are out of employment today. If the president delivers that for me, whether he will have built new highways and new railway stations and new expressways and reopened or given everything to the military, I will be happy.
Honorable Ichung'Wa, are you really trying to flog a dead horse and hoping against hope?
No. I told you, Mwai Kibaki took about 15 to 18 months after the post-election violence of 2007-2008
To fix the economy.
It is doable. My challenge to President Uhuru Kenyatta is, please, Your Excellency, sir,
wake up.
Mudhamaki.
Ruidi. Mnasema anaitwa aje? Amuka.
Please.
It's time.
Let us go back to the basics. Let us go back to the things.
And you're saying that is only possible if he divorces the handshake and all that?
He doesn't have to. He just needs to have his priorities right. And to me, those priorities revolve around the economy.
Economic resurgence. Gerard, I think as we go to the Bunge la Wananchi, we'll engage Mheshimiwa on the question of dissolution and whether Parliament has failed.
All right, bunge iko wazi hapa bunge la mwananchi. We finish in the next 15 minutes. Wafungu la bunge la mwananchi 0779-800-010 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010. You can call in and contribute. Tukienda kufunga kiosk kabla wenyewe wajakuja kufunga. Unajua sema hapa labda anaweza kutangulia kufunga kama hujafunga. All right. Bunge la mwananchi is open 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Meanwhile, as we waiting for the calls as they come in, naona tayari wamefika. Jamaa mchelewi hata mngoje ni meza mate. Haya, good morning.
Good morning, Gerard.
How are you?
I'm fine.
This
is Kiprop.
Dennis.
Kiprop.
Yes. Very quickly, Daddy.
Great Mheshimiwa.
Asante, Dennis.
I have only 3 things. How do you resign as a Jubilee member? That's the first thing.
How did you what?
Number 2.
How do you resign?
Yeah, resign as a Jubilee member. I think I'm tired of being a member.
Unataka procedure ya kufunga kiosk ya Jubilee.
That's number 2. How do we take our apologies for voting the Jubilee government? That's my second. I've been asking this for so long.
Well, unajua ni kama Ichung'Wa leo atatuambia mahali wanapeleka apologies. Tubebe na wheelbarrows.
Yes, and number 3, I want you to engage in about the military takeover.
Yes, already.
I'm guessing today that they want to take over with the planes from the parastatals.
Yeah.
And then then the last one, we wish them well. After nation is strong. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. All right. Good morning.
Hey, good morning Bwana Gerald.
Salama sana boss, habari ni Jesse?
Asante, mzuri sana, nimeshukuru sana kwa kunipa hii nafasi. Mwanzo nikusalimie wewe, nisalimie profesa na bishop na his excellency Mheshimiwa Bwana Kimani Ichungwa. Habari yako Mheshimiwa?
Mzuri sana mkubwa.
Nashukuru sana. Mwanzo nimefurahi sana na ningependa kuuliza, mimi ningekunominate kama spokesman wa Hustlers Nation, interpretation and speaking of the agenda. Kwa sababu gani? Hata bwana profesa hapo ameagree na mimi kwamba you are a very eloquent person ambaye anaweza kujieleza vizuri, anaeleza mambo yake vizuri, anaongea kwa the high, wale ambao wanaelewa technical terms na kwa mwananchi wa kawaida. And I now understand why the Kikuyu constituency gave you before anybody else was given that seat. you know, before even the race started, because they saw something in you. And as a young leader that you are, you know, I really pray to God that you may be able to be given more microphone by the Hustler Nation so that you can be able to interpret the Hustlers Nation agenda coming, moving forward. Secondly, ningependa kusema pia nashukuru sana vile tunaendelea tu vizuri na tunakuombea Mungu sana. Hapana ogopa, na nitakwambia kwa lugha yetu ya mama. Mimi naongeanga lugha kila siku na mtu ambaye ameletwa mgeni. Motikederio guoya. Otire kedo getare kionekana ni arume. Ogore. Tuendelee hivyo na tuendelee, na sisi hatupatii William Ruto kura kwa sababu ati yeye sijui ni nini ama nini, but because he is able to convince us and he's been able to convince every one of us that his agenda is to unite the country and to move the country forward to another level. We still love our president. We have no problem with him. We only have a problem with deep state, the way it's moving on and you know, trying to harass people. Kuna mtu ambaye kwa deep state alikuwa amepatiwa masikio sana na raisi, and then probably anaendeza agenda yake, which is not good. We will not focus on that. That is water under the bridge. We'll focus on the future. We are listening to you, Bwana Ichung'Wa. Move forward boldly. Do not be cowed. That's all I say.
Hey, juzi uliongea kutukana bwana, leo umeongea lugha gani tena? Hey.
Leo hata ameongea mambo ya ng'ombe bwana.
Unajua mimi Bitok.
Yes.
Mimi nimelelewa in a cosmopolitan area. Na I can be able to speak most of the Kenyan languages. You know, hivyo tu kwa sababu ya kulelewa in a cosmopolitan area. And so sisi ni wale watu ambao tunasema we are not tribalists.
Yes.
This is the Kenya we want.
The country away from that. We want to build the Kenya that we want, because
you're a patriot.
The agenda for the future. People who died for this country many years ago, they shed blood for this country so that this country can be a different country. But it's a shame that in this year and this time, people die of hunger, starvation, lack of water. What is this? When people died and put their blood before, and now people here are putting their interest.
It's a shame. Asante ndugu. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Bitok.
How are you?
This is Governor P. Mushendo.
Hey, Governor, niko hapa na mbunge wako wa Ndeia ya ng'ombe.
Amesema huko Ndeia uko na shamba karibu 100 acres bana.
We need to tax you. We need to tax you for idle land. You are a dynasty.
I'll tell you, if there are people who are very lucky to have a very energetic and a devoted member of parliament, it's the people of Kikuyu constituency. And I must appreciate that Mheshimiwa, despite the fact that Mushendo is not a constituent, anytime we need his help, he has always come through for us. We wanted a connection of a road coming from a place called the Post, where the people who are fighting the colonial people are buried. Going to touch the road he was doing, a Tamaking road he is doing in Kikuyu, and he actually incorporated about 2.5 kilometers of road in Limuru constituency in his development program. And that we appreciate.
Hapa ni testimony tu.
Ujirani mwema.
Yes. We sit down with him. We are not from Kikuyu, but we sit down with him and we discuss pertinent issues affecting our people.
Nice.
And that is the kind of leadership we want. So today I just want to say I really appreciate having the member of parliament for Kikuyu in the taco. I can also tell him that today we have reached a viewership we have not reached before. That he has content that people want to listen to.
That is true.
So congratulations Mheshimiwa, na ukanyangie hapo hapo.
Asante Governor Ray.
Good day, sir. Thank you. All right, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, nakusikiza. Hello.
Hiyo ni balloon bana.
Good morning. Ni namba ya ajabu. Good morning. Nakusikia dada. Naona unapiga na satellite phone, Niambie. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Napiga kwa sababu mimi huyo Kimani Ichungwa ni mheshimiwa, ni mbunge wangu.
Aha.
And basically, we respect him a lot from Kikuyu. Napiga kutoka Dubai currently.
Oh, nice.
And one thing that would empower him as my MP is it is time for us to stop looking for excuses as to what is ailing the nation and call our able president out and tell him to start taking this bull by the horns and literally he needs to take responsibility, and people need to stop blaming the hustler for the message that we have. It is up to the MPs to literally tell the president if he cannot put his own house in order and stop all this looting and stealing, then they need to literally vote a vote of no confidence, because kama nyumba baba kwa nyumba akiamua kuwa mlevi na afanye kazi inafaa kufanywa, wazee wanarudi wanamuita pamoja, wanamwambia it is time to start putting house in order.
Ama watawekewa
and pick our daughter ama mtu atabeba hata mwanamume asipofanya kazi yake asipofanya kazi yake, wanaume wengine watabeba bibi yake au vipi
kabisa. Unaona jamaa akipita hapa.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, our president needs to take responsibility, and I am empowering my MP, who's very able and has done an amazing job in Kikuyu, hence him even getting his seat basically by landslide was unopposed. Basically, I'm empowering him. They need to start calling out the president. It is time for us to stop being politically correct, because that is what is ailing Kenya right now. All the politicians we have are trying to be politically correct. That has to end. It is time for us to heal the nation. It is time for us to take it back. And I agree with him. They steal time. They steal time. Our nation is got money, and they need to stop this borrowing completely. The nation we have to deal with the current debt that we have. They need to start slashing the budget. Budget zingine zikiletwa, hata kama amewekwa catering committee, hata kama walimbakia mandazi,
alete mandazi na smile.
Support. Alete mandazi. So akate budget za mandazi pia. Baraka and tell him to keep doing the awesome job that he's doing. Na asigope hata hiyo parliament kidizoviwa, tutarudisha tu yeye unopposed.
Bila kupingwa.
Hata yeye support bila kupingwa. Support yote hiyo nini watoke nini, wacha warikoliwe wote, so we can get fresh people that are not afraid of telling the president the truth. Right?
Yes.
We are there to be nice to each other. If you try to be nice to people when they are harming you, hata Yesu mwenyewe kuna mahali alifika akachukua kiboko akachapa watu
kabisa, inaitwa mosharisha
ya kufanya wasahau. Alikuwa amefika, alikuwa na nguvu ya kusahau ya kuwafanya wasahau anauza waanze kusifu, but he chose to take a whip and whip it. It is time for our MPs to put that our house in order by calling the president out.
All right.
When we have a good day, let me get back to work. Let me get back to my office.
All right. Tunazungumza na nani kabla hujaenda? Majina?
Unazungumza na Sam ama Samiwadi. Ukimpata pale Facebook Samiwadi. Mbunge wangu najua ananijua.
I know him on
Facebook. Amesema anakujua.
Yes. He's my neighbor. He's literally my neighbor. Yes.
So asante sana. Rudi kwa hustle sana. Nenda ukapiga hustle. Thank you so much.
Shika hizo madirams bana.
Je, nilikuwa nimeshangaa. Namba gani hii? Nikashinda ni baluni nini? Alright, Mheshimiwa, quickly moving forward. The issues of dissolution. Are you guys ready to go back to the parliament?
Has parliament failed, essentially?
In terms of enactment of the 2/3 gender rule, yes, we have failed. In terms of protecting our democracy, substantially we have failed. In terms of meaningful oversight of a government, we have substantially failed. Should parliament be dissolved, I wish I was the one being asked to dissolve it. I would have done it the day before Maraga spoke. Is it going to happen? No, it will not happen.
Why?
If you are President Uhuru Kenyatta, would you dissolve it?
On his current status?
No, it depends if I was him and then I had his mind, or if I was the president. It depends. If I was Uhuru,
no, if you're him with everything.
If I was him, no, I would not. But if I was the president, I would.
Now let me answer you as a politician. You would dissolve parliament if you were at your peak in terms of popularity.
Exactly.
So the president has got to ask himself, is he at his peak in terms of popularity? Would he come back with a majority in parliament if he was to dissolve parliament? Where will that leave his legacy? If he was to dissolve parliament today, go into elections in another 90 days, where would that leave his legacy? And if you sum up the possible answers to those questions, then you will see why the president may not dissolve parliament. But if I was to dissolve it, I would have dissolved it.
If you had the power to even dissolve the presidency, would you?
I would.
On what grounds?
Unajua, hii madharau ndogo ndogo iko Kenya hii, it has to come to an end. And we must be a nation where everybody respects the other. We are here because ya hiyo madharau ndogo ndogo. When a few months ago the Chief Justice spoke out and complained loudly. And you remember him saying he has sought an appointment with His Excellency the President for so long, he's not been afforded that opportunity. Maybe it's just that small madharau ingeisha.
A lack of consensus.
The people managing the president's diary just fix an appointment for the Chief Justice. Probably one of the issues you would have raised with His Excellency the President is a way out of the current stalemate. And when people sit and talk to each other, instead of talking at each other, you will always find solutions. Maybe if they had sat down, you would have told the president, I have this petition, this is what the constitution requires of me. You have a role, I have a role. How do we go about it? And since you're all intent on protecting the nation state, then you will get a solution. Lakini tukiwa dharau bunge, dharau judiciary, dharau deputy president, dharau chief justice, dharau MPs, dharau senators, dharau governors,
madharau inapeanwa na wholesale,
dharau raia,
equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity eta.
Kutakuja wakati God creates a situation
where all of these guys will gang up.
Ya ku equalize nyinyi,
flatten the curve.
Flatten curve ya madharau. Sasa tuheshimiane. And probably this crisis is also a good opportunity to reflect on how low we have gone as a country and trace our steps. And that's why I said the president still has 2 years in office. He has time to correct where we have veered off the curve. Because he was on a good trajectory, I feel we are deviating from that course that we are on. There's time. 2 years is a long time. In fact, you only need 6 months of focus. Get this country back on the right track. Yeah.
How many of you are ready to go back to elections?
Sorry?
How many of you are ready to go back to elections? The bunge.
Mimi ungeniuliza hata kesho ningeenda.
Ungerudi huko.
Unajua hata hii madharau ndogo ndogo ya kuambiwa sijui hakuna mtu alinitafutia kura, sijui hawa wote wangechaguliwa kama sio mimi. Hiyo madharau pia
mnataka kurekebisha.
Tuone tu sahihi.
Ningeenda kwa wananchi because I am elected by the people of Kikuyu out of their own will, free will. And by the grace of God, not a human being. Therefore, I would also want an opportunity where I test those who believe they are godfathers and the will of the people and God the Father. Because I know at the end of the day, God the Father and the will of the people will prevail for others.
All right. Ojwang.
Yes.
Tunaendelea kufunga kiosk. I need your remarks today. You've been very quiet. I don't know what you're absorbing.
Ako Vegas.
He's reminiscing. Vegas.
No, Mheshimiwa Ward have sent us off to war. So, no, just to congratulate Mheshimiwa, go on with your bad self. That's a compliment. You are doing well. You know, we have a theory called the needle prick theory. if somebody keep pricking you with a needle, it's not much. But at some point unaamua bwana sasa hii ukiongeza pricking me 20 times ama kunichuna 20 times, they amount to one serious act. So I think that my view is Africa, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. If something is irredeemably spoiled, you can't salvage it, including parliament. The best thing is to reform it, to start afresh. You can't reform it, you can't improve it, because ni kama kupaka gari imezeka rangi mpya. But the engine ni ile. Ile imefungwa na kamba, ile inamwagwa maji na kibuyu, na inasukumwa kwa milima. You might not go far. So whether you put lipstick on a pig will still remain a pig. But I wanted to comment on the issue of transferring roles to the military, because if you look at Article 241, the military is supposed to generally work against our external aggression. The most important chapter in this constitution, in my reading, is Article 1. Sovereignty belongs to the people.
To the people.
We are the sovereign without a gun. That is the essence of the contract with the government. And it says anything done out of that and out of this constitution is violating our sovereignty. And, usually government use two things, fraud and force. But when fraud fails and it is discovered, like in the Kemsa scandal, then force is the only tool that
you use a gun now.
Yes, and that is why you are seeing the militarization of the nation. I mean, even President Moi at his lowest moment did not militarize things. It is sad. The use of force and the gun is counter to our constitution that is calling us the sovereign. We are the sovereign, not the... And so security should not be so much about the regime protection, but about the people. Finally, maybe as a lamentation, I will say that for many years, Africans have been promising one thing but delivering another. Promising prosperity but delivering poverty. Promising nationalism, delivering division. Promising political tolerance, delivering ethnicity. Promising good governance, delivering corruption. Promising autonomous institution, but delivering state capture. Therefore, as the citizen and the sovereign of this country, we have a duty to check and make sure that we are not taken for granted, and to stand for our right. Finally, law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice. And when they fail in this purpose, they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. It is time to call the bluff, let the parliamentarians come back for the fresh mandate, and let the wananchi be ready. Again, Mr. Bitok, I've been a little bit skeptic of the wananchi because, what was I saying? They are the people, they suck. For lack of better word. They're the suckers, right? They suck. These are the people who leave good candidates in the ballot, go and do their sin, like confessing to a priest privately in that private voting, and then come and say, sasa angalia hawa hawatujali. It is time for wananchi and the suckers, including myself, to look at the mirror and see that it is me.
It's a problem.
It is me who is the problem. There's a song with the Negro spiritual saying, it is me in the need of prayer, not my brother, not my mother, but me. It is us. The person in the mirror is the problem. And stop being a sucker. Thank you.
The suckers. Dennis. Yeah, final remarks and tackle of the day.
Thank you very much. indictment by Maraga, actually the 10 pages, is a public poster that reads impunity. And the general understanding of impunity is exemption from punishment. The fact that this government, whether we try to evade the question or not, has been involved in economic crimes, social crimes, crimes against humanity, as we have seen, that they even eat money meant for funeral arrangements and the sick. When we saw the COVID millionaires, an issue that has gone dead and silent, swept under the carpet. The impossibility to bring the perpetrators to account for their violations, whether it's criminal, civil, administrative, or disciplinary proceedings. The failure to punish the rogue is indeed the legacy of this regime. That Kenyans today are so desperate because regardless of what they will do, which we know is not good. I'm happy that you're hopeful, Mheshimiwa. But we as a people have arrived to that place of saying we must disembark this bus. That we know for sure they will perpetrate, they will continue stealing, acting against the Bill of Rights and everything that we believe in this constitution. And they will never prosecute. The obligations to investigate violations and take appropriate measures is not in the interest of this regime. And that is why even the notion of not dissolving a parliament that has adjudicated a disastrous tax regime to its people failed to defend the doctrine of the separation of powers. Is the desperation is beyond. We can't put butter. Now go back to school. Take care of your own medicine. Don't worry if you're not wearing a mask in the street to be shot dead. Who is going to rescue Kenyans? But all hope is not lost. I see the likelihood of a Joshua and somebody like you, even if we are selling the hustler narrative, we have to be sure that there's a life and death matter that we have to deal with right now. So, Honorable Ichung'Wa, I want to plead with you, and I know you do this for the people of Kikuyu. Kenyans need one of their sons that can defend themselves against this defective autocracy. You have hope, but there's a general feeling of hopelessness. Even from the last election in 2017, the apathy that people registered to vote, 19 million, and they felt like we don't want to vote. Even before Maraga wrote his 10-page verdict, we are tired of this regime. If you want us to come to parliament naked, whatever it is that you want to do, but the pathology of impunity is something that Kenyans cannot take anymore. So we are asking those of you who are not interested in protecting your salaries or the privilege of being on the floor of the house or a red carpet afforded to you by the people of Kikuyu, please help Wanjiko. We may not be able to reflect the desperation because Kenyans are unwittingly resilient. Many Kenyans have died out of COVID. There's no care, duty of care by the current regime. The 2 years that are remaining may be worse than COVID if this is not corrected. We are about to take back our children to the autocracy that does not care whether their parents died or not. whether the teachers died or not, whether schools are death traps or not, because hospitals, they've abandoned that place of healthcare. So we are asking you, we are charging you today as Wanjiko, not just to be a spokesperson of Hustler Nation, but to counter this demon head on. If we have to pour oil on you today, this show is an altar. We shall do that and consecrate you to be the new day Luanda Magere.
The people have said.
But I cannot effectively express the dire helplessness and hopelessness. But again, I look back and I look up and I look down and I look at the front and say, if God is for us, who can be against us? Against us.
Daktari, you're saying something? Just in a minute.
In 30 seconds. You cannot pull or drive 9 inches of knife on my back, pull 3 inches out and say that is progress. Si unaona ilikuwa ni 9 inches nimepunguza kidogo. Progress is when you have fully removed the knife. And even if you remove the knife without administering first aid, I will bleed to death. But Jubilee have not even started removing the knife. Thank you.
Punching it further.
That's very powerful. All right, Mudosi, as we finish up, there's a question that has come in, which I think is very important. There's somebody saying, good morning, Mheshimiwa. My question is now that the Public Service Internship Program, PSIP, for the first cohort is coming to an end this October, what plans do Parliament have for the 3,100 youths exiting the program? There's someone who has thrown in the question, and they have been calling, so I said, let me...
What program again?
It's saying parliamentary public service internship program, the public service internship program, PSIP.
It's under the Ministry of Public Service, the ministry under COBIA. And you see, the idea about that program was that people would get into internships to build a new civil service. And those are challenges now that we have as a country. With the economy that is not growing, with the challenges that you have with even our own salaries and wages in the public sector, are we able to absorb more people into the civil service?
That's a question.
And that's why I have kept saying throughout this show, economy. My foot.
All right. What are your
what do Americans say, Ojuang? They say it's the economy and only the economy.
Only the economy.
So we must get to that point in this country where we tell our government it's only the economy and only the economy.
You don't want politics, you don't want baby, you don't want handshakes, you don't want ags, you don't want anything else.
Fix our bread.
Later.
Those ones can come later. And I have said,
you cannot hug when you're hungry.
I had an engagement yesterday with members of parliament from the Mount Kenya region, and I was telling them, when it comes to development issues and things that will help our country and our economy, we shall be in the forefront. When it comes to mambo ya kupanga na kupangana siasa, hiyo kila mtu ajipange. Nobody will come to direct me on who to support, what direction to take politically. We are of age to determine what direction to take in terms of our political direction. But anybody in government who wants to engage us on issues that touch on the people and their well-being and the economy, the country's economy, and how we develop our country, anytime, anywhere, we are open.
There's no reggae when people are hungry.
This guy is dangerous.
How do you start telling people about reggae? People who can't put food on the table. And Dennis has put it very well. The desperation is palpable in this country. But I just want to say, Dennis, in response to what you are saying, let us not despair.
Yes, sir.
The day we will have no country is when we despair and we lose hope. We must keep hoping. And that is why I have said, as desperate as the situation looks, the buck stops on the desk of His Excellency the President. He just needs to put his act together. Don't allow Kenyans to despair. Inspire new hope. Let those who are getting angry with the hustler narrative not get angry with hustlers. Inspire new hope in them. If you think their vision carrier should not be William Ruto, come and show them what vision you have for the country.
Honorable Ichung'Wa,
I was happy when the Prime Minister spoke about selling manifestos. I said, yeah, this is where we should be going to. And I asked, Tinga has never sold anything other than Tialala Tibim. I don't know what manifesto Tialala and Tibim more. Yeah. So if we want to get to that level where we move this country forward, we must really engage around issues. And for me, the most important thing now is focus on the people.
What's your message to Kenyans?
Don't despair.
Don't despair.
Don't despair.
Where do we see Kimani in 10 years?
There is hope. In 10 years. God willing, 10 years is up to when? In 2030.
Vision 2030.
Vision 2030. Ask me about now, I want to focus on what I am doing for the people of Kikuyu. Even 2022, I want to focus still on my constituency. As I said, I have deliverables. There is work still I have not finished. I want to finish, maybe for another one term. In 10 years, maybe God will avail other opportunities. But in the immediate future,
it's about the people of Kikuyu.
It's about the people of Kikuyu.
All right. Thank you so much.
Promises I made to them that I must
deliver.
All of them.
But there is someone who has asked where can they access your manifesto, so maybe you'll tell them where they can.
I think I should upload it online.
Yes,
I had a website in 2013 that went down. But since I have it on PDF, I will upload it.
You should revive it.
I will upload it on the Kikuyu constituency website.
And we also hold you accountable. In the next 2 years, as the term comes to an end, we'll call you again.
Yes.
And we want you to give us an account of what you said here.
Have you
defended? Tell us, this is what you said, this is what we did, and this is what we've achieved.
If there's anything I've never been afraid about, is accountability.
As an accountant.
Not just with resources.
You live by the word.
You've done CPA anyway.
Yes. I want to be accountable to the people. Both with their resources and also with my time. And what I am doing for them. If I give you a promise today, take it to the bank and cash it.
All right.
Because I will deliver on it.
We need those promises. Thank you so much, sir, for making time for us. It's really a pleasure to have you, and you've been patient enough to listen to us and to speak to Kenyans. We really appreciate, and we hope to have you more so that we can have these conversations that are going to move this country forward. If we don't have these conversations, trust me, we'll never change this nation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless Kenya.
All right. For the guys who have been watching in, asante sana. Tunawapenda zaidi. The guys who have been sticking in for all those hours, the numbers have actually been good. We really appreciate that. Asante sana kwa kuja. And I always tell you that without you, this show is not there. Without you, the tackle is not there. The tackle is here because you are. So I want to appreciate you. Thank you so much for always tuning in and making time for us.